sir, who is Director, National Innovation Foundation. And today's President, Professor Satish Patil, sir. So, not taking much of time, I would now request our chief guest, Dr. Arvind Ranade, sir, to deliver an inaugural address to all of us for a few minutes. After that, we will have a full-fledged lecture of.
Thank you, Professor Rafi sir, the director of the center, UGC Center, Professor Patil, all the distinguished participants of this training program. I think what is important at this particular point of time is since the new education policy has been rolled out by the government of India, and now we are almost at a time where we are actually going to go with the people, go with the students in a way that we are really trying to come up with what the actual stakeholders of this new education policy are. The students at the forefront when it comes to the school or a higher secondary or maybe at the higher education. So they are the real beneficiaries, but ultimately all has to go through a very systematic and procedural, pedagogical, I would say the curriculum-based framework that is there, the education. And this particular point of time, now when we are in a 21st century, when the world is talking about the, high economical impact, the kind of challenges that we are dealing with, which includes the climate change, which includes the, high kind of, basically we talk about the new challenges, especially with the help of new technologies that are there, especially when we talk about the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and of course to the robotics. So now the point is that the way that the world is progressing, and we are looking forward to be the third largest economy at the global map. Now, to have that, it is going to be more important for us to realize the major stakeholders of the whole of the system is going to be the leading role to be played by the young minds of our country. So it becomes an important for all of us to realize that as and when we are able to give them a very conducive atmosphere with the all possible kind of an right from the infrastructures to the technologies to the right approach, so that this young generation can get the lead and make the country really cope up with the challenges that we are going to have. It is quite proved by various techniques as well as the systematic studies that the climate change, which is approaching, certain amount of impacts have already been realized. We have been seeing all those challenges in front of us. At the same time, it is very important that the whole of this population, or I would say the entire population of the country, will have a lot of challenges in terms of the food security, in terms of the energy needs, and in terms of the security of the various aspects, and ensuring that we are able to cope up with this all. And when we look at the global scenario, that now I think we have already superseded China, and we have become the single largest the country with the highest population. So when we have all those kind of challenges in front of us, I think one of the important backbone of the whole system is an education. How you really grow the seed, and that is what we really try to look for, the better fruits out of this whole ecosystem. And it becomes important for us to realize that today, for every aspect, and when we look at whether it is education, whether it is economics, whether it is all the kind of needs of the country, one of the important point that needs to be understood, needs to be implemented, and needs to be emphasized upon is the innovation. So in every field, the innovation is going to give us a lot of leads. And that is what we at the National Innovation Foundation have been trying. Because as we progress, the new challenges, new things, new generations with all possible equipped, the paraphernalia, they are going to come up with that. And they should be able to take those challenges and lead the country with all, dimensions. And to have that, it becomes important for us as a people from the education system that we will be guiding them, will be hand holding them in such a way that the desired outcome of the whole ecosystem comes out of this particular national education policy. Because the entire world look at India with a lot of prospects, with a lot of kind of a leadership because of the various aspects that are associated with us. Number one, the kind of location that we are, it's called a very strategic location when we look at the global scenario. We also are having the large demographic dividend because today we are having the largest population, which is a very fertile, which is very outcome supportive system. So it becomes important that if we try to make use of this as in something which will help us to change the outset of the country, and that is where the people like us who are part of the, especially if we focus upon the higher education, then it is a real challenge with all of us to handhold this new generation in such a systematic way so that the various opportunities, various dimensions are being unfolded in front of them so that they can really choose a right perspective and they become a part of the larger ecosystem so that they can be very important stakeholders in the development of the country. So I consider this kind of programs are going to help us to understand, to realize, to get various people to come on the platform, give us the right understanding, give us the right approach by which we will be in a positions to make these youngsters aware about and handhold them and give them a direction so that ultimately it might be progressing, it might help them to, as an individual, to have a very concrete kind of a career. But at the end, what outcome that we look at as a nation is that ultimately they are the one who is going to lead the country in a right perspective. So I think these particular training programs with the new challenges, with the new education policy is something that we need to look into, need to work on. And I feel that this is where the role of all of us come into the picture, whether it is an R&D ecosystem, whether it is an education ecosystem, or anything for that matter. So I really feel it's a privilege to address all of you, especially on this occasion where we all are going to have a various important experts to speak about various aspects of the national education policy. And with this inaugural kind of points to refer upon, I will be focusing on the topic as I progress ahead. So with this, Professor Rafi, thank you so much for giving
Thank
me
you,
some.
thank you for your inaugural address, sir. I would request all participants to open their cameras, please. Participants, open their camera. Being an inaugural session, at least for the inaugural session, all participants should open their cameras. So I'm really thankful to Arvind Ranade sir for delivering the inaugural address. President of today's inaugural session, Director of this UGC Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center, Professor Satish Patil sir, has also joined our cloud meeting. A senior faculty member from our university, has a vast experience of teaching, research, administrative experience. He is also former Pro Vice Chancellor of our university. He has headed Department of Environmental Science twice in his tenure. He has guided successfully several students for their PhD work. He has also international collaboration with universities from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Also, he has penned several articles and books to his credit. So indeed, it is really an honor and pleasure to have him here as a for the presidential remark. So I would now request Professor Satish Patil sir to deliver a presidential remark to all of us.
Good afternoon, all of you. The speaker of this session, and the chief guest for this inaugural function of this NEP Sensitization Orientation Program, Professor Dr. Arvind Ranade, sir, Director, National Innovation Foundation, Ahmedabad, my colleague Dr. Rafi, and you all participants, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all for this NEP Sensitization Orientation Program. As it has been pointed out by Dr. Rafi, that it will be a program of 2 weeks and which will have a different sessions during this course, including the Indian knowledge systems, multidisciplinary education pattern, how to lead the academic leadership, then the governance and management, student diversity, inclusive education, R&D, higher education and society, information and communication technology, and the skill development. I think these are the 8 areas where you will have an opportunity to interact with the experts and to get experts' advice how to implement this all into the education system. Because as it has been rightly pointed out by Dr. Ranade, sir, that we need to change, being a teacher, we need to change the mindset first. Because you know that teacher is the instrument in implementing the education policy, new education, national education policy at large. But as I told you, as Ranade sir told that, we need to change the mindset of teaching pedagogy. Even we have to include different techniques into teachings. The most important part is that in education, at every level of education, right from the school to the post graduations, we have to inculcate the skill into the education. And the curriculum should be job oriented. And most particular part in this education policy is there's a job training, on-job training. Because you know that unless and until we don't improve the content of the courses, will not be able to improve the GR overall. And that is what, this is a great opportunity for all of us to include innovation, incubation, and communication techniques into the education so that that will benefit to the students. They will certainly lead the country and the world as far as the educational upliftment is concerned. And the most important is that, as we know that countries like India, we are found to be thickly populous countries, and the youth percentage is very high. More than 35% of the population is youth, belongs to 15 to 40 age. And if we could provide them an inclusive education pattern, and if we give them a skills, definitely they will lead the country, and the country will become a superpower, that is a Vishwa Guru, who will lead all over the world. I believe that if teachers are trained, they will certainly train the students. They will pass on this all educational technologies to the students, and the students will be very successful as far as their career is concerned, from the entrepreneurship or from the employment point of view. I believe that you all teachers will certainly interact with the experts whom we are inviting from the Pan India, and you will also share, as it requires, your knowledge also with them, so that try to communicate and try to interact with the experts, not only during this session, but even after the session also. As in, when you find little bit difficulty in implementing any of the aspects into the curriculum, you be in touch with the experts. You be in touch with the those who are involved in the different areas for giving their expertise. I believe that this 2 weeks course will certainly help you to build your confidence that definitely we can improve the student skill and employability by effective implementation of this national education policy. I also thank to Ranade sir, as and when we invite him, he's always ready to share his views, his expertise with all our participants. I believe that because you know that Ranade sir is a director of innovation and the National Innovation Foundation, so that he know that how to improve the skills among the students and how to recognize the skills. Definitely, his expertise will help all of us to see that how we can uh, include it into the curriculum. I thank to the analyst sir for being a giving a first sessions lecture, and also thank you all participants. And I believe that you will certainly enjoy the deliberations which will be given by different experts in their own field, and will improve our knowledge level and even our techniques, so that how to pass it on to the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I now declare this, with the permission of our respected president, I declare that
Yes.
this inaugural function is over, and I would now hand over the session to our respected guest, Dr. Arvind Ranade. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Patil. Thank you, Professor Rafi. I'm sure I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible. Your skin is also visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So nice
Okay.
of you. So I think very important points have been referred by the Professor Patil, director of this center, and as he correctly spotted the important aspect that we all of us, I mean the people, if we look, I mean I'm quite sure the at least half of the teachers or half of the faculties to whom I am addressing, they must be somewhere in the age group of 45 to 55, which already have seen a certain part of the previous education policy. And now we are having the new challenge of implementing and focusing upon the new education policy. So it is really a great challenge, especially for this particular age group, because we have come out with one particular education policy which has altogether very different orientation. We have learned, we have been taught with a certain amount of tools and techniques and the skills that the way that we have gone through. But now, when it comes to an important, I would say, the carrier or the convener in the process, that we are the one who has to be ensuring that this new education policy's expectation, how we need to really, bring that new generations to allow them to have a very versatile, I would say the multidimensional, I would say the multidisciplinary approach as they come to the higher education. So it is a real challenge to the people like us who are halfway, have understood, learned, come with a certain kind of a mindset, with certain kind of a technology, certain kind of ideas, certain kind of tools and technique. But now, when we have to teach, we have to mentor, we have to guide to the new fraternity or new generation, which is all the way going to come up with the new framework. So this is going to be a big challenge for all of us. And that is where the important part of the training program becomes, is to be a student by ourselves, to understand the nuances of this education policy, understand the basic framework, understand how this education policy is intended to do. As Professor Patil was mentioning at his address, that this education policy has a very, very specific outcome-oriented system in place. that we would like that the students who are going to come will have a various mindset, will have a lot of, I would say the advanced kind of a knowledge base with them, and keep on guiding them to ensure that the desired outcome, the desired expectation from all such higher education should give them a sufficient kind of an idea, sufficient kind of an avenues to learn, to implement, and also to become entrepreneurs at one point of time, because this particular education policy has a multi dimensions altogether. In fact, what the system that we have come through was almost kind of a very specific, very specialized, oriented kind of a mechanism in place. So to some extent, if we realize the way that the whole education system have come up till today, is that you are focused with the certain amount of objectives, certain amount of tools, certain amount of knowledge domain, and you remain with those knowledge domain, with you remain with those kind of important focused area, which hardly have a chance to have a multidisciplinary approach, where the people, where the faculties have been trained to either become a, I would say the medical doctor or engineers, or say a very focused fundamental science based, or maybe a particular aspect of an social sciences, social special aspect of an arts faculty, and then of course similarly to the commerce, and all are all different. But now this new challenges or new aspect that we look forward, this in totality, this new education policy, which is been rolled out in 2020, it becomes important for all of us to understand what are all the nuances of this particular new education policy. So with this presentation, half of my presentation will be focusing on what this new education policy is expected, or how this has been been framed, especially to ensure that the outcome of this education policy, the students, when they right from the early age, or when they become a real adult, or one can say the youth, and when they come out of this education system altogether, they should be having a lot of, I would say, the low hanging fruits with them. They can be part of good economical areas or economics, or they can also be similarly having the avenues available from the various creative thinking when it comes to the science and technology. So in a way, the new education policy is allowing a very good artist to be a very good doctor, and very good doctor to be a very good economist. So I think this is some advantage, but at the same time, with this advantage, what is important for us to understand in the whole process is to how we as a people, because ultimately the one who is ensuring the outcome of this education policy is we all will have to ensure that this education policies outcomes are being really been delivered, or we are in a positions to ensure the outcome of this policy is allowing the students to have more skills, more entrepreneurship abilities, and also to be a good kind of an researcher. So many dimensional aspects are being associated with this. So I think it is important to start with to understand what this particular new education policy is been rolled out, and what are all the important points that it refers to. So basic aim of this new education policy is to transform and reform in India's educational system, which allows to have many opportunities to be equitable and vibrant knowledge society. So to ensure that, what this new education policy framework has come has introduced at the the previous structure of 10+2, which is replaced with the 4 steps methods, or the very important point to understand here is this early age Now this allow you to have a preschools from the age of 3 to 6, which will become a part of the 5+3+3+4 structure, in a way when the child actually takes the birth. Initially the responsibility lies with the parents, but at very early stage, this particular framework is allowing the students to have a multidimensional approach at the very beginning. So a minimum expectancy from this school framework will be to have a foundational literacy and numeracy with the child, so that uh, the ability to think, to ability to be a practicality of those knowledge should be something that the student should be able to not only imbibe but also be often positions to implement. Now, at the same time, this also allow to have a multi-dimensional approach at the very early age. So that's why there is no rigid separations between the what we as a people have come up with the arts or maybe a science or maybe a commerce, but this is going to allow them to integrate all those topics, all those subjects all together, and also to have a curriculum and an extracurricular aspects associated with this. Now, in addition to that, this education policy is also emphasizing and allowing is to have internationalization of education as well as the multilingualism. That means the child, if he or she wish to, can have learning or can take the language of an Indian origin and also can be of a foreign origin. A child going in a school can also learn Marathi at the same time, can also learn Spanish. So that advantage is going to come at the very early stage. Now, at the same time, this education policy is going to have a big, I would say, the market for the international players, so that the various universities are going to have their campuses in India, as well as our Indian universities will also have abilities to tap the right talent from the entire globe. So this is going to have a manifold aspects associated with it. Now, the present education system does not really have a large contribution in terms of the GDP, but we intend to have that in a very systematic methods, that the total investment in the education can be up to the 6% of GDP, which is really going to help for the education system to come up with a multi-dimensional and facilitating approach. Now, this actually emphasizes us or allow us to have a technology integration. That means with the help of technology, and I think in the beginning, I was talking about to have a new technologies associated with this. So even at the very early age, the child is going to have an exposures to the new technology, which encompasses the machine learning, which also allows to have a artificial intelligence, robotics, all those things to have a minimum kind of an exposure. So the point to refer here is that this particular integration of technology is going to allow you to have a various online courses, will also have a facilities of a digital infrastructure by which the child is going to have the understanding, will going to have a various scope of learning things to be associated. Now, another advantage with this is that from the very early stage, I would say that if we look at the facilities of vocational education starts with the class 6, and not only with this vocational education, which encompasses the highly skill-based programs, as well as the child will also have the abilities and understanding about what the entrepreneurship is. So if the child is able to accustom and understand the skills as well as the creativity, he or she can also become an entrepreneur, aspects associated, so that they can be part of this system as and when they want to, and they can be allowed to have multiple entries and multiple exit. So that gives them a large amount of flexibility, which perhaps the present education policy does not allow us. And rather, present means now it has already been rolled out, but two generations through which we all have come out. Now, this also give a good kind of an opportunity to have a academic bank of credits, which as and when, as a bank, we consider as and when you require, you take the credit, as and when you require, make use of that credits. And if you don't, you keep it as a piling it, and then execute, and then take it as and when you require to have the highest outcome of your system when you try to exit from it. So all that flexibility is going to have with the child, and at the same time, it is going to have a multidisciplinary universities in terms of the higher education, because now there won't be any particular R&D institutions, or say the focused institutions, which was earlier used to focus on one particular area of the subject. It could be engineering or maybe a medical science. But now it looks forward that it should have a multidisciplinary approaches within the institution. So universities are going to be a multidimensional and the multidisciplinary universities in there to come. It is also going to have academic and non-curricular autonomy to the colleges and universities. In a way, this is something perhaps we will enjoy to an extent, because the universities or the institutions which are in the vicinity of the high economic zone, they can develop their curriculum, they can develop the courses, they can have various programs which are in demand with the market-driven aspects associated with it. At the same time, the institutions, let us say, located in the specific domain and specific area, geographical area, which can focus on programs and the courses which are of the need from the society. So that autonomy is going to be enjoyed by the institutions in days to come. At the same time, there is going to be only one source of research fundings, and this new education policy is coming up with the National Research Foundation, which will allow for the funds to be been rolled out by these government agencies, and it will be research fundings from only one particular institutions or one particular place, so that every kind of researchers can approach to this foundation, where this will have multiple facilities, and that can also stop the what you call the duplicacy of the research projects, duplicacy of the various funding resources, to be streamlined and can have only one particular system in place. Now, with this new approach, the points that I have referred here has given us a wide scope, and all our idea about how the education is going to come for the new generation, then certainly this is going to benefit the young generation, is going to help the new born people to have these facilities. So that really gives rise to a lot of challenges, especially for the people like us, who has already come up with one particular system, but need to be a part of developing a new generations. So it is a large need of having the training programs, teachers training program and developmental program, which will give a sufficient idea or sufficient amount of time and the skills to be adopted by the teachers to the to the framework as and when it is needed. Now, there is also, as I mentioned, in the days to come, there will be a new technologies integrated, like artificial intelligence. You will have online lectures, or you will have online courses. So to accustom with all these technologies is something that needs to be imbibed, needs to be understood by the large amount of academic fraternity. And at the same time, you just being a teacher is not going to suffice the requirements of the system, but you need to carry out the research and development programs from your institutions, which also has a multidisciplinary approach, which will have a multidisciplinary understandings, wherein the people from the art faculty is going to learn the skills from the science, is going to be a good kind of an economist at the same time. So all that is there, which we all need to understand and realize. Then at the same time, this academic credit bank is something that we need to understand to an extent, because this academic credit banks is going to give a lot of liberties for the students to have a multiple entry and multiple exit, with the required number of credits points to be credited at the right time, and can also deposit the credits to the bank based on the new learnings and the new skill adaptations and various things associated with it. So let's focus on one and the different challenges that are going to be there. And at the end of my talk, I will be speaking about what we at the National Innovation Foundation have been doing, which perhaps this new education policy does not reach to those people, but these still people have a lot of scope and contributions in terms of the innovation, in terms of the local area problem solvers. Now, in terms of teachers training programs, teachers are the most important factors that influence the learning outcomes of the students' future. So this NEP recognizes the need for continuous professional development of the teacher. That is what we were trying to emphasize upon. And to go with that, it is important to prioritize the quality of the teaching and the area, so that the entire transformation of education can happen with this new NEP. So obviously, this is also going to have the new batches of the Bachelor of Educations with the more understanding and skill-oriented aspects associated with. So this B.Ed course which is used to be generally a couple of years program, will now become a 4-year integrated teacher education program, wherein the rigorous curriculum and pedagogical trainings are going to be given to the teachers. It also needs to have an establishment of national as well as a state level councils for the teachers' education, so that the teachers are getting trained, are able to define the new standards, and will also be provided continuous and professional developmental opportunities through the universal ability of online and offline courses for the training program. Now, in the whole process, those who can do the best, or those who can actually able to learn, accustom, and able to deliver to the fastest possible, then obviously such teachers should be given the rewards by exceptional teaching skill, and these teachers will have a new opportunities as in their own career pathways. They will become mentors, and will also be become more kind of facilitators. They will be given a more administrative responsibilities based on the adaptation of the skills and the quickest possible way. So the success rate of such teachers can be substantially, what you say, gamified with this particular aspect. Now, this also help the investing the teachers training infrastructure and curriculum development capacity building. So these few aspects need to be understood to a greater extent. Now, what is to be done and what is to be understood in terms of the integrating these new technologies? So basically, this NEP is going to be focused on the student-centric teaching methods. So entire focus is to make the students, or the the target, to have a more kind of availability of learning skills, and that is where the entire focus will remain with the students, who will really understand the aspects with the conceptual understanding, which will be more on learning abilities than the scoring abilities. Now, it will also be largely been defined with the outcome-oriented learning, which will leads them to understand the aspect with the experiential learning. There will be a lot of programs and the examinations defined based on how best the child is able to understand the practical aspects when it comes to the sports, it comes to the realizing, understanding the arts and craft, and at the same time, how one actually can imbibe and understand the various vocational skills. Now, that these new technologies are going to be adopted with the help of use of multimedia, virtual reality, and then of course the various experiential teacher learning technique. Now, this will also be giving rise to have multidisciplinary curriculums, which by which these students are going to be cope up and take the challenges of the 21st century with the skills that they learn, that they adopt, and then focus upon. So majority of these establishments are going to be the national digital infrastructure based, which will allow them an online education as well as training. So a lot of online courses are going to happen through the Swayam portal, which will allow the large amount of students to have the online courses as and when they find the time, as and when it's kind of a demand-driven education system that we look forward. So it's for very easy to realize and understand that the use of the laptops as well as the internet, virtual laboratories are going to be on the higher side when it comes to the digital repositories in the schools and the colleges. So we all need to understand and realize the kind of the generation, the kind of things that the generations are going to have, the availabilities of the tools and the techniques. So we also need to realize that they are going to be more advanced than what we actually could think of. So it is becoming another important point to emphasize upon, that we as a community should also be able to be a part of R&D and multidisciplinary institutionals altogether. So as I said, that this NEP aims to strengthen the research culture in the Indian higher educations to promote the research, a core function of the universities. So now the universities are, in addition to the very focused pedagogical teaching learning, will be focused on various programs and initiatives focused on the R&D aspects of this. This is also going to focus on the world-class research capabilities to address the national priorities and the local problems. So this is going to be the demand-driven kind of an educations in the days to come. So which will help to encourage the public-private partnerships, which also invite international collaborations for the research. So in a way that we need to understand the demand-driven, the need-based, the problem-solving abilities with our educational institutions. So ultimately, it has to have with the people, the faculties of the teaching communities, which are something that needs to really have a hard kind of time to learn, able to understand, imbibe, and at the same time to deliver with the help of the best possible skill that one can able to learn and make use of. So it will serve to establish an ecosystem where the research informs teaching and advances the frontiers of the knowledge. So that means the large amount of educations, which are higher education institutions, eminent public institutions, to be granted a complete academic and administrative autonomy. That means today, perhaps the university examination structures are no more going to be required, not going to be necessary, because if the institution is able to prove themselves that they are able to generate the human resources based on the demand-driven, market-driven kind of challenges, So you will have a liberty to define your own courses. You are able to have your own curriculum. At the same time, you will be able to supply the demand-driven kind of an human resources with the help of a good academic and higher educations around us. Now, this is something that we need to understand certain key initiatives for the research under this NEP. So this National Research Foundation is going to fund both individual as well as multidisciplinary research. So this NRF, and I think if I'm not wrong, I think just a couple of months before now, the present Secretary of Department of Science and Technology has also been appointed as an CEO of this ANRF, which is an Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which will be focusing on high-skilled research projects and funding aspect. So higher education's demand-driven, specified area required kind of a research that they can focus on, and they can approach to this NRF and ANRF, so that high-skilled based research as well as a high-ranking research can be carried out. So this is going to provide the incentives to the higher education institutions based on the research performance and the outcome. So this also going to promote research at the undergraduate level through the credit-based research opportunities. So that means the new NEP is expecting a lot of aspects to be associated, by which the learner, the students who is going to come out of this system will be of having large opportunities to have a major area of kind of an employment as it comes out of it. So it will develop an Atal Research University, which are solely focused on fostering the world-class research in India. So it is to set up a new educational technology forum to drive a collaborative research in the educational technology, which will also increase the public investment in the research by 1 to 2% of GDP to realize the vision of transforming India into the major hubs for the innovation. So I think in the beginning, I was pointing out that innovation is not going to be restricted to the only one or the other part of the world together. So the innovation is going to be required in the everything that we talk about, whether it is a processes, whether it is a product, whether it is a the kind of the system in place. So everywhere we need to have understandings about the innovations, and we need to keep that spirit on the very higher scale, that the research is an essential to create a new knowledge and drive the innovation and progress in any field. So ultimately, innovation is going to be one of the important aspects associated with this NEP, by which that innovation in anything that you look forward will help the generations to be a good kind of an outcome-oriented kind of persons to be able to. And I consider that this is where the people coming out of these new education system will be of too much of the help, not only for his or her job seeker or maybe requirements of being a good kind of an employee or employer. So this particular system is going to give opportunity for a child to not only enhance the skills, the academics, but about the research-oriented mindset. So a person coming out of this education system will always remain a beneficiary, which will be important to be a nation builder in whatever the field, in whatever the approach the child or the student is going to take in his career. So we at an NIF, National Innovation Foundation, we have a very, very optimistic approach that the child coming out of this new education policy will be of large help to the society. However, once let us say the youth coming out of this NEP will be of significant value to the society, and how it can be tapped, how it can be really utilized to a larger extent, then I consider that NIF's role will also become easier, as well as will have a large amount of recognitions for those people, those who have never got a chance and to be part of the bigger ecosystem when it comes to the grassroots innovation. So we at the National Innovation Foundation, we process and we support the grassroots innovations in India, which is institutionalized through the with the help of establishment of National Innovations Foundation. So we basically, what we do is we scout, we document, and we maintain the database of such ideas and innovations which are coming from the grassroots level. So in addition to that, what we actually do is the value add into those innovations which requires perhaps an research and development associated with it. So we do a lot of value additions to what the innovation is, so that the intellectual property of such innovations can be kept with the original thinker, original innovator. So with the help of intellectual property management, we try to protect all the intellectual abilities of such people, and then also help for those innovations and innovators to establish their business with the large amount of innovation chain, wherein the innovations bringing to a prototype, converting into the market driven aspect. So ultimately, once that innovation establish its utility aspects in forefront of the people, we also take such innovations for the social as well as the dissemination purpose, such innovations that we take to the people through the various routes and the mechanism. And then, of course, we ensure that this innovation reaches to the larger section of society through the information technology, knowledge management. Now, NIF, we at NIF, it is always been considered that this entire NIF is actually driving these innovations at the grassroots, because NIF, this National Innovation Index, which was never been part of this any of the evaluationary mechanism in India. But after this new kind of an abilities to understand the innovation skills and the abilities, this particular government of India has started the India Innovation Index. And in this particular innovation index, what was never been considered was a social innovations. So later on, that has been considered as one of the important parameters to be utilized, to be understood, so that the innovations can also help to solve the local needs and local problems, which has the indigenous resources to do that. I see there are a lot of hands are getting raised, but I think once I complete my talk, I will take those questions. Is that okay, Professor Rafi sir? Or should we go one answering the questions as and when it comes? I think since there is no response, I consider let me first finish my presentation. So if we look at the innovation system in the present context, then these are all the part of the bigger innovation zone or innovation ecosystem, what we call it as a technology readiness level. So when it comes, for example, when the innovation reaches to us, they lie somewhere in the TRL level 0, 1, or 2, or very, very rarely we get the TRL level 3 technologies with us, that too coming from the grassroots innovators. So basically, we at the NIF try to, at a certain time in the future, that innovation market is acceptable from the TRL level, let us say from 1 to 3, it goes up to the TRL level 9. And there are successful demonstration of such technologies also have been there, which we always consider a proud moment for NIF to take care. So here with the certain amount of case studies, or I would say the successful, kind of innovations that I'm trying to put in front of you, which will allow you to get an idea that how a person who at the entire value chain, which always been considered as a consumer for all kind of a new things to be associated, when it becomes not only the consumer, but he also becomes a contributor. So this is one of the successful case that I am putting in front of you. A person called Kishan Lal, who is basically from Rajasthan, a very small farmer, and he has established his own tractor operated groundnut decorticator come grader. So with the help of the locally available resources, this Kishan Lal has developed this technology, which allows this Kishan Lal to have this decortications of the groundnuts and look at the efficiency. Then the capacity of this is about 800 to 1,000 kilograms of the groundnuts per hour that this decorticator can generate, and that too with the very less amount of fuel consumption, which is around 2.5 to 3 liters per hour, and can actually generate the large amount of reduce the what you call the drudgery at his at the level. So we consider that such kind of innovations or in situ value addition can happen to a large amount of people. And when we have big challenges of global level, which are the climate change. So these kind of interventions at the grassroots, by the grassroots, are going to help to solve the local problems. And this innovation or the innovator has been recognized for his innovations at many a forum, and NIF is the first one to recognize such innovations by these people. There is another successful example of another innovator called Sri Ajay Kumar Prusti, who is basically from Dhankanal, Odisha, who has developed the paddy cutting, or rather a straw bundle, which is required to have a very desired size for the cultivation of the mushroom. And this particular straws being generated out of paddy can be a very good kind of material to cultivate these mushrooms of a good quality, which is been with less amount of efforts, with the less amount of required investment, can actually give rise to large amount of good outcome of this kind of a mushroom cultivation. So this is another successful example that we could see, and look at the rate of work. It can generate about 400 bundles in an hour. That is what is the efficiency of this machine that we see. This is another successful innovator, which is Mr. Subhash Ola from Alwar, Rajasthan, who actually has used the steam of an boiler, which he reused it for the energy consumption. So he has reduced large amount of fuel consumption and enhanced the capacity of this boiler, which reduces the which reduces the power consumption, which reduces save the energy, is actually actually use less energy kind of aspect associated. He is a patent holder, and NIF has protected his rights. And now today you could see the technology's impact, that this innovation has really reduced the drudgery of manpower, engaged in the refueling and refilling of water, and has saved thousands of liters of water as a fuel for recycling, through the recycling of the steam. This is another successful example of Shri C.V. Raju, who is from Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, that you could see that this is one of the best example of being a vocal for local. This C.V. Raju is basically using the what you call vegetable dye for making the various toys, and those are all Indianized toys. These are being made by his own hands and he belongs to a very small village in Andhra Pradesh, and he now his products are made of a soft wood form, which is the unkudu trees, and which are being colored with the what you call is the untoxic kind of colors, which does not use any chemicals into it. And these kind of no, colors being applied onto these kind of tools or toys will not have put the child into any kind of an health risk associated with it. So this is the potential of technologies for the entrepreneur venture, with the suitable and proven alternatives of toys polished with unhealthy material. So these kind of toys will enhance the economy of that the manufacturer. It's basically will help the generate the livelihood for those people who has always been marginalized because of the unskill of such people, but the amount of skill and ideas that they have been using is one of the great examples that you could see. So the impact of technology, we could see that the hundreds of the craftsmen from the village to the innovators are engaged in the process, and the same may be replicated anywhere where the suitable source of livelihood. This is another tree climber that we could see it very successfully. These are all the very specific required kind of technologies being developed. But if you look at the market of such technologies, then all the areas across the globe, wherever there is a coastal region, this kind of a small intervention by a grassroots innovators can actually do a large amount of change or large amount of impact for a lot of reason. Now, number one, this is one of the innovator from the Coimbatore, Mr. Venkat, who has developed these tree climbers, which actually help to reduce the large amount of accident without using such kind of a tree climbers. There is a high risk associated with the climbing without any aid, and can also see that with this kind of technology intervention, there is a large amount of drudgery reduction has happened, and it has also helped to have a very good quality products at the same time. This is another lift plate making, bowl making machine by Jogendra Patra from Mayurbhanj in Odisha, that these are all the very locally available leaves from the what you call the sal leaves, which can help you to make such kind of plates or the bowls, and can generate the livelihoods for the people on and around these available locally available materials. And this also have a larger positive impacts at the same time, because this machine is basically help to generate the livelihood, and also it supports the green kind of innovations. So these kind of interventions help for the livelihoods of the many people. There is a asu making machine by Sri C. Mallesham from Nalgonda, Telangana. He also has developed a asu making machine, which he has sold around 2,000 number of machines, and he has actually helped to really reduce the drudgery for many people. And because of the intervention of science and technology, this asu making machine is also improving the time making of such a kind of a saris from in this part of this Mallesham. So this Mallesham is also been recognized through the work that he has carried out. We also have a successful examples of agriculture innovators. We call the generally breeder, who developed various variety of these seeds that we could see that this is some examples of Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, who has developed the what you call the cauliflower variety, giving you the large amount of yield with the good quality cauliflowers, and then the improvement of the in the life of the people who adopt to this technology can be on the higher side. There is another example of a sorghum variety that you could see that this is a drought in the low water area, which is one can say the suitable for the drought condition. This kind of variety is giving a good yield of an what you call the jwar in the Maharashtrian language. So this is another certain examples that you could see of an moringa, which is nothing but the drumstick that we see. And these are all the certain amount of varieties being developed by these small, simple grassroots innovators, which gives rise to have a new understanding, new framework for the large amount of people. This is another good example of an millet variety that is a Sulcania Bajra is been developed by Hanuman Rao Jhuria from the Churu districts of Rajasthan, which is also the drought tolerant suitable variety. So you could see there is another variety of the agriculture, which is onion. Then you could see the different kind of things which are coming up in terms of the fruits. You could see this is a guava variety that you would see, and which also give you a large amount of yields with the per hectare area. So these are the largely market-driven innovations that you could see, and it also changed the the orientation of the person of for his or her livelihood. So these are all the large amount of interventions that NIF has done in those people. This is another example of outstanding traditional knowledge, where you could see if you could catch the cataract at the right time with the very simple herbal lead we got. With this particular thing, if you are able to identify the cataract problems at the early age with the certain amount of care and utilization of the certain amount of formulations, one can actually get out of this what you call the cataract problems in the large amount of people. This is another example what NIF has done. We have developed a multi-processing food processing machine. And now this is a simple grassroots innovator who was a rickshaw puller at one point of time has now getting the orders from across the globe, and he is able to demonstrate his technology for larger impact as well. These are all some of the successful examples of the Subhash Ola, who is also the recipient of the Amazon Sambhav Award for the Genius Energy Critical Innovation. So these are all the innovations that are being in market, in place. Like this boiler, modified boiler is used in the milk processing, plywood machine industry, textile, food processing, which help to reduce the energy, conserve the energy, and also help for the large amount of what you call the employment generation. So there are large amount of technologies that NIF has developed and directly now able to help the common people. Such technologies now we have installed in the correctional homes in the various places, and they are helping the life for generating the livelihood for such people. And we feel very proud in mentioning that the kind of innovations that we have done is helping to a large amount of people at the end. So these are all the certain amount of examples of dissemination and social diffusion of the varieties that we could see. So this is an apple variety. Now this apple, which has always been considered as only high altitude fruit, has now been grown in the various parts of the country. And this gives us a good example of how the technologies are being implemented and how it is being utilized for the larger context of the people. This is a successful examples of the school-going innovations, opportunities through our Inspire Manak. This is one of the good and successful example of an adjustable walker, wherein the child who was gave a simple idea that how the walker can be for these really challenged people, and this adjustable walker being technologies transferred to the large amount of people, or especially in terms of this adjustable walkers to a very well-known company in the orthopedic, that is Visco, is now giving large amount of incentives to the original innovator and idea thinker from the Inspire Manak, and she is also the recipient of the Asian India Grassroots Innovation Awards when it is getting in place at various places. This is another innovation that you could see here. A small school-going child gave the idea that during the time of COVID, how one can actually have a swachhata to be done in the vicinity. So he has developed the idea, and then we have implemented it. We have come up with the Swachhata Picker card, which is being used at the larger places. Now, these are all the certain examples that we have done and successfully demonstrated the programs. Now, there are certain amount of innovations which are also been transferred to the private companies like John Deere's. So this is a paddy transplanter which we technology transferred to a private industry, and this innovator is started generating the funds for himself and for his family. So this is another example of for helping the industrial entrepreneurship. So we at NIF also have a Nifentric, which is a Section 8 company of National Innovation Foundation, and we also help these innovators to do that technology transfers with the help of our business development group. These are all some of the innovations from the socially relevant kind of innovations. And you could see that these innovations have also made a good impact in the society now for generations of the livelihood of the people, reducing the reducing the drudgery in the various aspects. So all these are the successful examples that we have been talking about. So we are the people here in the National Innovation Foundation. This is the head office at Gandhinagar. We are around 50 to 60 people here, but we do have 4 different campuses at the different places in India, which includes the Srinagar in Jammu Kashmir. We have another office in Dehradun in Uttarakhand. Third one is in Bhubaneswar in Odisha. And the fourth one is in the IIT Guwahati in the Guwahati. So these regional centers are helping us to be a good supporter for our people of the country. And we have been trying to do our level best so that the people ultimately get beneficiaries out of it. So I consider that this particular topic, which was being discussed right now, is something that when the new NEP is rolled out, there is a lot of expectations from the people like us who have seen and experienced the old education kind of an in place. We are the outcome of those, but the new education or new generation which is going to come out of this new education will be more knowledge based. People will have more skills associated with them. They will have a multiple approach, dimensional approach with them. So we need to ensure that these very brilliant minds need to be accelerated, need to be motivated, need to be given a right directions, so that these kind of people, through the skills or the techniques or the kind of values that they imbibe through this NEP, will be of beneficiaries for their own career as an employment generation. But at the same time, we as the people are part of the whole entire ecosystem also look forward that these kind of people are going to have a potential to change the world, change the abilities to think. So I consider when we have a dream of leading the globe with the large amount of ecosystem in place, I consider these new generations will be able to do what we call as a disruptive technology interventions, which will help for the ease of life of the people. And we at the helm of the affair need to understand the need to acquire, to need to learn, need to unfold these aspects as we are going to be a teachers for such high amount of people in the whole ecosystem. So I stop with my presentations. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer this. And I consider that this presentation has not really made you, feel bored, as this is a very interesting topic to understand and implement at the larger scale. With this, thank you so much, Professor Rafi and Professor Patil, for giving me an opportunity to talk to all of you all about the innovations with every one of you. I look forward to have in-person interactions also in days to come. But at this moment, thank you so much for patience hearing to my presentation. Thank you so much. Dhanyavad. Sir, is there any questions? I could see there are some questions coming in the chat. And one question says that why NEP syllabus does not have skill-based chapters 8. I think one of the important point that we all need to understand that this NEP is going to give you the lot of autonomy, educational autonomy. That means you can develop your own skills based on the need at your market. If your university is more closer to the industry, if your university is more closer to the fundamental contributions into the subject, then accordingly you can frame the syllabus. So that's the advantage, and that's the reason it does not have a very specified kind of a syllabus to say. Yeah, what do you think about the cluster university? I think that is the need of the time, because in the given context, one particular institution has been built focusing on the requirements of that particular point of time. But now when we have a approach of multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary universities, certain amount of information, certain amount of skills, certain amount of manpower, resources are available with one particular setup. There need to have an exchange of, all these things, resources, and that is where the idea of the clustered university comes into the picture. And I consider that that is the need at the demand. That is the answers to the question. Thank you so much. The next question is, how will NEP help to inclusive sustainable development of underprivileged masses of the country? I think to my understanding, I consider this is one of the best kind of policy that we could see, because how can we answer this question is, now look at the system in place. Now the system that we are going to have in the school going children is 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That means in the whole system, the students are going to have a large amount of skill-based programs in the early age. So we are expecting to have what we call is the vocational aspects associated at the early age. So these vocational courses are going to help to these underprivileged masses to have a large amount of skill-based learnings at the early age, so that as soon as possible, they learn, they acquire, and can be of help to utilize those skills for their livelihoods as they come out of the ecosystem. Yeah, how the NEP helped to drop out the students. I think one of the great example of this is going to come up with the credit banks and multiple entry and multiple exit. So everyone will have an opportunity to decide when to accept and when to quit the system. And that is a very wonderfully done that if you do a program for a year or a year and a half, you get a diploma. If you remain there for a couple of years, then you have what you call as a course, certificate course. If you come out of the system by 3 years, then you become a bachelor. If you come out of the 4 year, you get the master's. And if you remain with the R&D aspects, then you come up with the high the skilled R&D aspects associated with it. So that's all from my side. I tried my level best to answer some of the questions. Now I request if there are no more questions. Over to you, Professor Patil or Professor Jaffrey. Mr. Jaffrey. Or anyone from the organizing side? Is there anyone from the organizing side? Professor Rafi?
Sir, Rapid sir go to administration meeting. So I'm here, Amol. So thank you so much, sir. Had a very motivational intelligent lecture. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So participants, you can leave the meeting.